Y'all, you ever just read something so infuriatingly bad? You're just gonna be like, you know what? I'm gonna take a big fat nap. Why did I waste all of that energy, all that brain power on a silly little novel? God. Well, here I go. Gonna power nap. Bye.
Howdy y'all, it's your boy Nate. I read books because reading is sexy, and if you're not reading, you're not sexy. Here with some book updates. A few. I don't know why I keep doing this to myself, but was it yesterday? Yes. Oh, yes. I took my nap from yesterday after I finished reading Baumgartner by Auster. This is out by Random House. You know the book where you say, I'll never read another book by a white old man? This is that book, sadly. You know, it had so much potential. The first 20%, it's swift. There's this motion of recklessness, dealing with old age, and this man who just, amnesic effect where he, you know, goes for one thing, but then forgets this other thing. And there's this swirling, vibrant, dizzying motion to it, and it really sets you in his world. But then the rest of the 80% is sort of him lamenting on, one, his dead wife, and essentially just his life, and the memories that conjure when you're at that age and looking back at your life. Though I appreciate stories like that, and I appreciate stories of the elderly, this was very much told. Tell, not show, essentially. And that's all it was. There wasn't really a very strong narrative to it all, and I just didn't care. I didn't care. Also because, you know what? Pack it up, Paul. Pack it up. Man needs to go into retirement because the story is not storying. Also, clear signs that it's written by a man because there's no strong characterization when it came to his female characters. Baumgartner, would get this like weird thing where he'll get like horny all of a sudden and then objectify his past women, and I'm just like, this is so odd. This is so odd. There wasn't like any kind of build up to it either. It was just like this random horniness that would drop in, and I'd just be like, what the heck? Like, if you're gonna do that, at least have the decency to have some sort of foreplay, you know, some sort of formation beginnings to get you there, you know, Salter your way through it, you know, use James Salter's prose to really swing you into it, but he just drops you into the horniness, and it's like so weird. And then you realize this man is coming from a different generation, seeing women from a different generation, and is still seeing them from that generation, even though this book takes place like 2017, 2018, and I'm just like, I'm sorry, sir, but if you are still writing from a time period set in modern time about the past like that, and like using the past's way of seeing people now, or like seeing people from the past, it just doesn't work. It just doesn't work. The rest of the 80% of the book is just a complete slog. The interesting thing that I do find in this book is this feels very much like a pandemic book, where it's also mixed with someone who's at a very late stage in their life and looking back at life, and all of these memories springing within you. Is, what do you recall? What do you fixate on? What are the loves of your life? Also, what moments have shaped you and what moments still haunt you? There is all of that, and it's glorious in the narrator's thought process. But, you know, there are better books that do it. If we're going to talk about elderly narrators thinking back on life, sort of within the pandemic framework, Tom Lake does a better job of this, and also pays respect to female and male characters in terms of characterization. No kind of objectification. Well, there is, but it's done respectfully. All the characters feel fleshed out and real. And with Auster's book, we don't necessarily get that. He's just telling us his life story and all of the characters involved, family and lovers and all, but they just feel like people I don't know and don't care about because there isn't that characterization. I'm not being shown how these people mean anything to our narrator, Sai. And yeah, gave this 2 stars. Perhaps I'm too harsh on this, but honestly, the way the horny bits just like dropped into the text, it was off-putting and just like weird. Pack it up, Paul, pack it up. Like if you can't do a New York story like Scorsese with some kind of class, you know, then stop. Stop. It's time to give up. It's time to retire. You're sitting on bank already. Just, it's okay. It's okay. I think the most interesting thing to come out of this was my Google search of Paul Auster, because I haven't read anything else by him or seen his movies. I didn't realize he made movies as well, but he was married to Lydia Davis, and that's kind of crazy. Now, Lydia Davis is someone I love, someone who I trust, and whose fiction I think works a lot better than this one. If anyone, though, has read any Paul Auster and loves his work, let me know. I might give him a second chance. Put him on me. I'll do it. But this one just did not slap. Ultimately dull, sadly. I think because it was the tell not show aspect, and it just, you know, it's like when you have a conversation with somebody and they're telling you just bits and bobs without any sort of connection to them, and it's just like, because you don't have that connection, it just flies over your head, and you're just like, at the end, do I care? Should I care? After that, I also received an ARC of So Late in the Day by Claire Keegan. This is a collection of 3 short stories, one of which appeared in the New Yorker. And there's this great podcast where Keegan reads the story, and then afterwards, George Saunders talks about the story. And it's brilliant. Like, if you need a cute, like, really well discussed talk about how one should talk about a story, Saunders is the man. It's great. He does a very good job, and he tells you why he doesn't read the story out loud for you, and I think it's brilliant as to why. And also because when I got to that point in my own reading, I was just like, wow. It is the power of words, especially about how men call certain women a certain word, and the power within it, and where that stems from, and how it becomes, what kind of character builds out of saying such a word. But Cathal faces a long weekend as his mind agitates over a woman with whom he could have spent his life had he behaved differently. And it's sort of this tiny look at what could have been between this man and this woman. And it's just so good in terms of tension between characters. Keegan does such a brilliant way of controlling human behavior and thought and putting them so close together where it creates friction but doesn't necessarily touch. And it's just, ooh, it like almost touches and you're like, oh my gosh, is it gonna touch? Is it gonna touch? And it doesn't, and it's insanely good the way she does it. The other 2 stories are very interesting in that they don't feel like they connect all together. Like the stories all together put up into this tiny book. It's like such a very interesting way to collect stories, because I don't think any of the stories relate to each other in any way. If anything, I feel like the last 2 stories definitely have some sort of correlation with them. But there's The Long Painful Death and Antarctica. The Long Painful Death is about a writer's arrival at the seaside home of Heinrich Boll for a residency, and it's disrupted by an academic who imposes his presence and opinions. While Antarctica is about a married woman who travels out of town to see what it's like to sleep with another man and ends up in the grip of a very interesting situation. And they show Keegan's brilliance in how she can tell so many different stories. But yeah, it's such an odd collection, especially when it's just 3 short stories put together. Although if you haven't read any Keegan, I think this is what I believe is a very good introduction to her work. I thought each one was very interesting in that she just knows how to drive the story through character and then is able to end the story with such swells of emotion, tension, and spellbinding beauty, I want to say, that really hits the cornerstone of humanity, if you will. But they're very charged stories, potent charged, and they're very small as well. And I'm just like, this is why this woman is getting so much attention, because she's incredible with what she does with language. And I definitely need to read more of her work, because yeah, this was so much fun. I finished the first story yesterday and the 2 stories today, but yeah, definitely worth your time. Really good short story reads in between your longer reads, and yeah, not to be missed. If you have not read any Keegan, do this. It's a lot of fun, and I just love what she does with each story. Yeah, now I'm doing Whole Studies by Hilary Plum. There's a collection of essays as well, and I'm a mere 50 pages within the first story, and it's about copywriting, editing, being an adjunct professor, as well as hip-hop, rap, diversity, working in a, you know, male, white centric field. And it's a lot to unpack, and it feels very disorganized, but there's this beautiful flow and harmony with it. Plume has this very interesting rhythm to her prose that almost feels conversational. There's something very electrical about it, but also eclectic, and it's different. It feels fresh, and that's what I like about it so far. But if you are an adjunct professor, if you are in some sort of professorship, I think you'd find a lot out of this. It is also about writing, a mere 50 pages. I'm enjoying it, but I don't know what the other essays look like, so that's my reading thus far. Today, right now, 5 p.m. feels like the first time I've actually talked to a human being. But this is not a human being. You are. That I'm aware of. But unless you're all bots, you know, I have a feeling that some of you are bots. Let me know. Let me know if you're a bot. Anyway, yeah. Also, I drank a ton of coffee, but then I was also falling asleep at work, so I just feel frazzled, if you will. And today was Monday. Monday was gloomy. A peak of sunshine in the middle of the day, which was nice. Still beautiful, actually. I should go for a walk. But I'm tired. I'm pooped. Love y'all. Be well. Do good work. Keep in touch. Also, Hajin, if this is in the same video or another video, your tote bags are right there. It's getting plenty of representation, okay? I love New York. I love it. Love it so much. Love is in the shape of a heart right there. Howdy, y'all. Here with some book updates. I finished the essay collection Whole Studies by Hilary Plum. What this is feels like your creative writing professor sitting you down for coffee, and instead of hearing what you want to hear, they tell you about how the world is broken, the system is broken in the field of writing, editing, being an adjunct professor, professorship, just everything wrong with the academic world, and how criminally, systematically oppressive it is to minority voices and the underprivileged and people who are under the middle-class finance belt. But such a deliciously present collection of essays surrounding hip-hop, rap, the pandemic, Sinead O'Connor, Courtney Love, the Iraq War, chronic illness, just everything within our present tense. I feel like any writer, editor, or professor who has survived the pandemic needs to read this book, because I think it will validate a lot of feelings. But I had a bit of an issue with the prose. I just didn't jive, which is kind of concerning given that she's an editor, so I wonder... I think it goes back to that old quote. How does it go? It goes, those who can't do teach, and those who can't teach, teach Jim. She's a better editor than she is a writer. The prose is a little dizzying to get into. It feels very much like Durga Chibos's Heart Museum, in that it flusters around so many different ideas, and you're not sure if the pathway really works, especially in the first essay, because it's a bit of a long one. And it sort of circles around these different ideas, but I don't think they come together holistically. Whereas I feel like Heart Museum for Durga Chibosa does, given because the emotions are so strong and high that you just sort of ride along with it. While here, it's more just circles upon circles and very much like the teacup ride, if you will. Once you get used to it, you sort of get into the flow and it works a lot better in the other essays. It's a quick one. If you're curious about the modern day world for writers, editors, and professors, this is a good look at it. Good, hard look at it. But yes, Whole Stories, Hilary Plum. And then I'm also reading I'm a Fan by Sheena Patel on the Kindle. Received it as an ARC, but it is no longer an ARC, and it will be well out and about once this video comes up. So, but I'm enjoying it a lot. I'm gonna save my thoughts for later because woo, it's a wild ride. It's a wild ride. And what's really scary is that it's also very cringy, but also I'm seeing a lot of myself in it. And it's just really disturbing in that way. This might end up in top 10. I'm wondering how Patel will sort of create the oomph at the end, because right now it could literally go anywhere. Like it's bonkers, and it can literally go anywhere with our narrator, because she is but I'm having a lot of fun with it, and yeah, I'll save my thoughts on it for later. And we got book mail. Now I need to tell you, I shouldn't have done this. I told myself no more books for the rest of the year. I do have, I think, one book coming from Blackwell's, but like no more books. But I saw these and I had to. Also, is this light bright enough? I'm sorry. I'm just realizing, like, okay. Is that bright enough for y'all? I just had to, because these were at a ridiculously good price, and I had to do it. Also because it's somewhat archival. Here we go. Y'all ready for this? It's 2 books. But first, how do I open this? Okay, well, there goes my light. Okay. For anyone wondering why I use my backlight, it's because I hate this light. It's just so gross. You know, mood lighting anywhere, everywhere, because honestly, this color just screams hospital lighting to me. And I don't like that. I don't like hospital lighting. It just gives me the heebie-jeebies. I don't like hospitals. I don't like them. And I don't like the light that they're in. Like, why use that light? It's not comforting at all. It's just so stark and white. It just bogs my mind. Why? Anyway, here to do a little book haul. Okay, here we go. A lot smaller than I expected, but here to show you, if I can get it out of its condo, but pretty much for 15 bucks. I got an OG copy of Hear the Wind Sing by Haruki Murakami. Okay, stop there. You ready for this other one? Here we go. A little ASMR here for you, but honestly, I'm struggling. Like, please, can I open you? Can I open you? There. And Pinball 1973. Y'all, OG copies. These are translated by Alfred Birnbaum, who I think was the original translator for Murakami's stories. And then a few years later, it was, what's his face? J. Rubin, who is sort of the main translator for his work when they did like the sexy covers, right? Do you remember that? So I remember, is it like mid-2000 teens? The teens, 2016, 2018, whenever that hideous cover, you know, the UK versions, they put the books together, these 2 first books together. These books are related. I forget which one's book 1 and book 2. I think this is book 1 and this is book 2. I'm just gonna say that. But anyway, when they were first published, they were published separately. And yeah, I believe this is it. This is like his first, oh my God, okay. Me talking about books, but has no idea what they're talking about. I'm pretty sure it's, okay, no, I'm wrong. This is book 1, this is book 2. Hear the Wind Sing was Murakami's debut book, and then Pinball 1973. And then, okay, I'm just gonna pull it up. Okay, it was published by Vintage International. And this was when? 2016. It was published in 2016 by Vintage International, where it was like this. So one book was on this side, and if you flipped it over, it was the other book. And the covers were fine. They were, you know, tastefully minimalistic. But I would have preferred something like this, to be honest. Like this especially is just so, so good. I love it. I love the, okay, this one, not so much. This one's okay. I wish like this image was like blown out to fill the entire border. I think that would have been a lot stronger. But I think it's a birthday card on the cover of the book is what they were going for. But this is just stunning. I got these. So, so good. And they're in this like poche roman. It's in this like cute Japanese size, because if you ever see like Japanese books, they're so cute in like their original paperback format, because poche roman in French, like pocket size, like it's meant to fit your pocket. Crowded train in Japan, you don't have room for a big book. And so you had like something like this. It's soft, it's delicate, but I remember reading these and not liking them at all. I've been thinking a lot, honestly. I just handed off my copy of Taipei by Tao Lin to my good friend Hajin. And I hold that book with much regard because it captured something about my 20s, and that's why I loved it so much. So I've been thinking, like, let me go back to my old faves. I recently rewatched Somewhere by Sofia Coppola. I still love it, honestly. I know a lot of people didn't like it when it first came out, but when I watched it, I was like, holy shit, this captures like the loneliness that I felt when I was in LA. And when I did this rewatch, I still really loved it. And it still captures that time perfectly. As a film, as a whole, it still hits, I think. I don't think a lot of people still like it. If you're gonna watch a Sofia Coppola film, that's not where you start with, and that's not what you watch, but there's just a mutedness to it, a quietude that I really appreciate about it. When I was younger, I really enjoyed Murakami's worlds and just the nostalgic, loneliness, jazz, all of those things entailed into one book, his books, and that's what I loved about them. I just loved being in his world. I'm gonna pay these a visit somewhere near the end of the year, maybe for next year. Reanalyze, assess, reassess how I feel about some old faves. So we got these at like a ridiculously good price. One of these was 15 and the other was 10, and I was just like, archive? Because like if you look on eBay, I think you can see these for like $100+, which is kind of insane. So I was like, I won today. I won. And these are crazy. Like this fits in the palm of my hands. And I know I got big hands, but they fit. Crazy, y'all. Crazy. So happy to have these, honestly. But no more books. No more books. I swear to God, I can't. Anyway, thanks for putting up with me, honestly. I don't know how people do it. Or maybe that's why I don't have so many friends. Thanks for being here. Be well, do good work, keep in touch.